I got some Christmas. I want to test your Christmas knowledge here, and this is on Christmas songs. Okay. So what I'm going to give you is I'm going to give you the I don't know what they are, the alternative words for the songs, and I'll give you the first one. It's quadruped with crimson proboscis. What's that called? Quadruped, 4 with crimson proboscis. Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer. Okay, so now we got to start here. Let's keep going. Okay, it's 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. without noise.
Silent night.
Holy night too. Okay, silent night, holy night. Probably hear that tonight, huh? Okay. Minuscule hamlet in the Near East. Minuscule hamlet in the Near East. What?
Far, far away on Judea's plains.
No.
A little town.
What did you say? No, it's a little town of Bethlehem. You want that? Minuscule hamlet in the Near East. Okay. Ancient benevolent despot. What's an ancient benevolent despot? What? We'll get to that one. You can hold on. It's good King Wenceslas. What? Yes, whatever Pat said. Okay, adorn the vestibule. Vestibule. Adorn. Very good. You got that. Deck the halls. Okay, you got that? Exuberance directed to the planet.
Joy to the world.
You got it. Joy to the world. Listened, aerial spirits announcing. What?
Angels we have heard on high.
Hark the herald.
Hark the herald angels.
Hark the herald angels sing. Okay. Well, you guys you got to keep score because we ought to give you a prize for this. Okay, trio of monarchs. Trio of monarchs. Yonder in the hayrack. Yonder in the. Very good. You guys are good. Okay. Cherubim audited from aloft. Cherubim audited from aloft. What's that?
Angels we have heard on high.
No.
No, what'd you say?
I said, angels we have heard on high.
Well, I got it. Angels on watch from afar.
That's not a note.
That's not a what?
No, I don't recognize it.
No, okay. Okay, this is hallowed post meridian. Hallowed post meridian. No. You are right. You're right. I was wrong. It's Oh Holy Night. Oh Holy Night. So you were right. Okay. Oh boy. Fantasia of a colorless December 25th. Fantasia of a colorless December 25th. What?
I'm dreaming of a white Christmas.
Yeah, I got just White Christmas. Nope, I am dreaming of a white Christmas. I was Bing Crosby. Okay. Fantasy. Oh, wow. 10-10 ambulation. 10-10 ambulations. 10-10? What? No. Think about a medal.
Medal?
What? Tin pipers, no.
Yeah.
Well, I got it as silver bells. It's 10 silver bells. Yeah, okay. Here's one. A dozen 20 4-hour Yule periods.
12.
12 days of Christmas. Okay, you're good. You're doing good. Befell during the transparent, bewitching hour. Befell during the transparent, bewitching hour. It came upon a midnight clear. Okay. Did Sandy get that?
Yeah, she just couldn't.
I couldn't say it.
Okay. This is the Homo sapien of crystallized vapor. The Homo sapien of crystallized vapor.
Snowman.
What?
Frosty the Snowman.
Frosty the Snowman. Okay.
I thought he's a Homo sapien, but
Homo sapien is man, isn't it? Okay. Desire a pair of incisors on December 25th.
All I want for Christmas.
2 front teeth. Uh-oh. I spied my maternal parents osculating. Maybe I should have just said for the sisters, not the brothers on that one. Okay. Preambulating through a December solstice fantasy. Preambulating through a December solstice fantasy. Walking through a winter wonderland. Hey, you guys did great. This is the story of why Santa has a beard. Okay. You've all heard many stories about Santa. Okay. In his workshop.
Bang, bang, clatter, clatter.
Do them. You got to get them to. At the North Pole. See, you got Ricky up here doing it.
There you go.
You have also heard stories about his sleigh
Swoosh.
and his reindeer. But there's a story about Santa that very few people know. So if you listen very closely, I'll tell you about how Santa. You're not getting them out there doing that. To grow a beard. Okay, everybody knows the weather is very, very cold at the North Pole, where Santa has his workshop.
Bang, bang, clatter, clatter.
He works very hard throughout the year with his elves, making toys for his Christmas Eve visit. Like everyone else, Santa needs relaxation. I think the audience has got more Santa than Santa. Okay. Like everyone else, Santa needs relaxation and a chance to get away from it all. His way to relax is to take a leisurely ride on his sleigh.
Swoosh. Swoosh. Good job, guys.
With such cold weather at the North Pole, Santa always had to bundle up tightly before taking a sleigh ride.
Swoosh.
Once he forgot to wrap his heavy wool scarf around his face while he went sleigh
Swoosh.
riding. When Santa returned from his sleigh ride and walked into the workshop where Mrs. Claus and the elves were happily working, he had icicles hanging down the sides of his face and chin, just like a beard. When Mrs. Claus looked up and saw him, she squealed with delight. Why, Santa? Why, Santa? You look absolutely marvelous with your sparkling white icicle beard. Well, when Santa saw how much this pleased Mrs. Claus, he was very flattered and decided right then and there to grow a long, flowing white beard and mustache, and that is what he did. Okay, by doing this, Santa caused two things to happen. He made himself so handsome, and whenever Mrs. Claus passed him by at the North Pole, North Pole, North Pole, North Pole, North Pole.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I was wigged out by Santa the Claus, Mrs. Witch, Mrs. Santa Claus Witch.
Okay, here we go. Let's do start that again.
Kind of wigged out.
He made himself so handsome that whenever Mrs. Claus passed him by at the North Pole workshop, she gave him a big smile. This made Santa blush so much that to this day he is still blushing. That's why his cheeks always look rosy. And now he doesn't have to wrap a scarf around his face when he goes sleigh riding at the North Pole. Mrs. Claus even has started going on the sleigh rides with Santa because she is so very happy that he grew his beard. The end.
Okay, just a couple things of business. It's the beginning of the year, so it's time to pay dues. So everybody that, if you could, yeah, just like this, okay, and it goes right to Ricky. So now, so $20 goes to Ricky for our local chapter dues, and then there's also our national dues, but I think we pay that through the mail, right? Is that how we've been doing it?
Yeah, that's our view. Is that how they do it, Harvey?
They pay the national dues through the mail. What Harvey is saying is that the national dues, which are what? They're $60? So Harvey says it sounds like that's a lot of money, but along with your national dues, you get the periodical, the Pioneer magazine that comes out, and there's 4 issues per year, and it is a superb and beautiful, beautiful publication. I'd like to invite Harvey up to the front, and it's being that this is the last presentation for the year, he's going to swear in the new officers for the upcoming year. So, Harvey, if you want to come up here, we'll turn the time over to you.
We'll introduce some of them. Our friend here, Michael, will be coming in as president. Matt will be coming in as past president. Ricky will come in holding the money in his hand. Lowell has been pretty good about getting the newsletter out, and I will say this last one was a great one. And of course, Bill gives a minute, and he's a member of the board. Now, when we go this, you guys got to repeat it after me.
It's going to be tracks.
And where it says I, then you put your name in. So raise your right hand. I, Put-
Brian.
Oh, come on, Harvey, you better get your glasses on.
There you go. What you mean?
Do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully and fulfill the responsibilities
that I will faithfully fulfill the responsibilities
and spirit of the office
and spirit of the office
to which I have been elected or appointed
to which I have been elected or appointed
to the very best of my ability,
to the very best of my ability,
will enhance their honor,
will enhance their honor,
memory,
memory,
and legacy
and legacy
amongst the people of our state,
amongst the people of our state,
this nation,
this nation,
and the world.
and the world.
I pledge my support and loyalty
I pledge my support and loyalty
to the National Society
to the National Society
of the Sons of Utah Pioneers,
of the Sons of Utah Pioneers,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Thank you.
Thank you, Harry.
Okay, so for the remainder of our meeting, we've asked Harvey to be our presenter this evening. And it's this is a tender moment for us because Harvey, now,
Right to the end.
no, I want to introduce you so everyone knows. It's important for me. Harvey has been a member of this chapter for, what did we say, Harvey? 30 years.
No, I've been in 2 chapters.
2 chapters.
A little over 30 years.
Yeah. And I've been here, this is I think my 4th or 5th year. And I just want to say something about Harvey. And I want to say this because this might be his last time of being with us. He's decided that it's a little bit too much effort to come, and I don't blame him a bit. It's for safety reasons especially. But Harvey has been an amazing example to me personally. I really look up to him. He, to me, is a very great example of having been faithful to his responsibilities. He was very effective as a father, as a husband, and he's given much service in the church and to the Lord throughout his life, and has some very interesting stories that he's shared with me, and I won't go into all of that because I probably wouldn't do him service, but to me, Harvey is somebody that I really have looked up to, and I've really admired him. And it's been an honor for me to be in the Sons of Utah Pioneers because I was the young guy. I think Ricky, you guys are probably about maybe a little younger than me, but for a little while I was like that one young guy. And even though Ricky was here before me, but so it's kind of good for us young guys to rub shoulders with the old guys, and we really learn a lot from them, and they were good examples. So having said all of that, I'm going to go ahead and turn the time over to Harvey, and he's going to share some stories with us about Christmas.
Now, I'm going to read a couple of 2 or 3 stories here. And the first one I'm going to read is Christmas Love. And some of you may have heard these before, some of you may not. I do have some copies of everything I got on here that if you want them afterwards, you can take them home. And that I got extra copies at home anyway. This is entitled Christmas Love. It's an old one that my mother used to use, and it goes like this. It's by Bonita Lewis. Christmas is for love. It is for joy, for giving and sharing, for laughter, for reuniting with family and old friends. For these and brightly decorated packages, but mostly Christmas is for love. I had not believed this until a small elf-like student with the wide innocent eyes and soft rosy cheeks gave me a wonderful gift one Christmas. Mark was an 11-year-old orphan who lives with his aunt, a bitter, middle-aged, greatly annoyed with the burden of caring for our dead sister's small son. She never failed to remind young Mark that for her generosity he would be a vagrant, homeless waif. Still, with all the scolding and chilliness message from home, he was a sweet, gentle child. I had not noticed Mark particularly until he began staying after class each day. And at the risk of arousing his aunt's anger, I found that out. To help me straighten my classroom, we did this quietly and comfortably, not speaking much, but enjoying the solitude of the hour of the day. When we did talk, Mark spoke mostly of his mother. Though he was quite small when she died, he remembered a kind, gentle, loving woman and always spent much time with him. As Christmas grew nearer, however, Mark failed to stay after school each day, and I looked forward to his coming. And when as the days passed and he continued to scamper hurriedly from the room after class, I stopped him one afternoon and asked him why he no longer helped me. "I miss you, Mark. Being with you, Mark, is something wrong at home?" Those large gray eyes eagerly looked up. "Do you miss me?" "Yes, of course. You're my best helper. I'm making you a surprise," he whispered confidentially. "A surprise for Christmas." With that, he became embarrassed and dashed from the room. He didn't stay after school anymore after that. Finally came the last day of school before the holidays. Mark crept slowly into the room late that afternoon with his hands concealing something behind his back. "I have your present," he said timidly when I looked up. "I hope you like it." He held out his hand, and there laying in his small palms was a tiny wooden chest. "Oh, it's beautiful, Mark. Is there something in it?" I asked, opening the top and looking in. He replied, "Oh, you can't see it. You can't see what's in it," he replied, "and you can't touch it, taste it, or feel it." But mostly, Christmas is for love. Entitled Christmas Angel by Tamara K. Stitt. In the early days, in the early 1900s, my grandfather homesteaded what is called Burns Creek, Idaho, which is located about 15 miles above E.C. Hot Springs. My great-grandfather was a rough, tough old trapper who built the first road along the Snake River to Table Rock and then on to Burns Creek by hand. He had lived in the wilds all his life. He trapped for a living and sent his furs to a fur trader who arranged to send his daughter out to Idaho for Carl to marry. My great-grandmother was 17 years old when they were married. She kept a detailed journey of her experiences in her new home. She hated Burns Creek, Idaho. She wrote how isolated and alone she felt. She wrote the following story in her journal. Bess was now 24 years old and pregnant with her 4th child. She had asked Carl if he would take some of his furs to the valley and trade them for supplies and the things she had asked for on her Christmas list. She was embarrassed about how much she was asking for. Her list consisted of peppermint, chocolate, and a little piece of yard goods to make her only little girl a new dress. Carl agreed to make the trip to the valley and also to bring home a Christmas tree. He left her in fine shape. He had chopped lots of wood, and all she had to do for 3 days he would be gone was to go to the barn and milk the old cow. She wrote that first day he was gone. And the children made cookies for Christmas and thick pudding. They made paper chains for the tree their father would bring back to them. The second day, a tremendous blizzard hit the mountain. It snowed and the wind howled for the next 2 days. When the storm finally subsided, she wrote how she tried to get out of the cabin to milk the bellowing old cow, but that an ice drift formed over the front of the cabin. She had to take an axe and chop through the ice to get outside. She could see how deep the snow was, so she tied a rope around her waist and went to the doorstep and started out through the drifts toward the barn. She could see that the snow was too deep and the ice too slick. As being with child, she didn't dare go any farther than a few yards. She turned and went back to the cabin. She felt bad for the cow and said a silent prayer that Carl would hurry home this Christmas Eve day. The day came and the day went. It grew late into the Christmas Eve. Bess wrote that all of Carl's bad habits, promptness was his very best trait. She knew in her heart that something dreadful must have happened, or he would have returned home by now. The children grew cranky and could not understand why their father and their tree had not arrived. She wrote she was just about to put them to bed when a knock at the door sent her heart flying. She knew it must be Carl. Her oldest little boy flung the door open, and Bess wrote her heart sank. For there on the other side of the cabin stood the stragglest old trapper she had ever seen. But to the 3 little children on Christmas Eve, an old man with a white beard and a pack on his back and a tree in his hand was certainly welcome. They started to shout, "It's Santa! It's Santa!" The trapper must have sensed the fear in Bess, and he looked directly in the eye and said, "Bless, don't be afraid. Carl is at Table Rock in Spaulding's trapper cabin with a lame horse. He couldn't make it any farther tonight, and I was out on snowshoes checking my traps, and agreed as long as I was coming this way, I would bring you this pack and this tree, and he would be along in the morning." Bess invited him in and fed him hot stew. He put the tree up and helped the children hang their ornaments. Bess judged him to be a good man, as he could recite the story of the Nativity by heart. She put the children to bed. The old trapper brought wood in and milked the cow. She asked him if he would like to spend the night in the barn. He said that would be good. He told her he didn't have any family and he had very much enjoyed spending the Christmas Eve with her children. She thanked him for his trouble and invited him to join them in the morning for Christmas breakfast. He seemed very happy. The trapper retired to the barn, and this was the first time Bess had been able to look inside Carl's pack. Her heart soared. In the pack was peppermint, chocolate, and a beautiful piece of yard goods. Her Christmas would be perfect. She put the pack under the tree with the hand-carved horses and sleighs for the boys, and the dollhouse for her little daughter that Carl had so carefully carved himself. She then went to bed herself feeling content, knowing Carl was safe and her Christmas was perfect. The morning came and Bess was caught up in the children's excitement. It was late into the morning when she realized the old trapper had not joined them for Christmas breakfast. By this time, her little boy was shouting that he could see his father coming over the hill. They all met him at the door. The children were so excited to tell their father. They had their very own Santa Claus locked in the barn. Carl looked perplexed and sent the children into the house. He looked at Bess and asked her who was in the barn. She quickly explained that it was just an old trapper he had sent with the tree and the pack. Then she had let him spend the night in the barn to repay him for his kindness. Carl looked so puzzled, and then he explained. He had never made it to the valley. He had made it as far as the Table Rock when the storm hit. He went to the trapper's cabin to wait the storm out. When he was tying his horse by the river, he saw an old trapper fell through the mush ice. It took 3 of them to get him pulled out from under the ice. When they took him into the cabin, they knew he would never make it. So they wrapped him in a blanket and laid him by the fire. The storm had subsided some, and their horses, the 3 saddled their horses, and they decided to go ahead and try to make it to the valley. The 3 saddled their horses and started back down the road. Carl said he had only went a few hundred yards when a strange feeling came over him. He sent the 2 young bucks into the valley, and he returned to the trapper's cabin and to the old man. He told Bess he just kept the fire going, and the old man would drift in and out of consciousness. Carl said he told the old trapper about his wife and family and how disappointed they would be that he never made it to the valley to pick up the peppermint, chocolate, and little piece of yard goods for Christmas. He told them how much he loved his family and how he looked forward to just being back home with them. But right now they were alone and without a Christmas tree on Christmas Eve. The old man died in Carl's arms. Bess started to cry. The pages in her journal are tear-stained as she wrote how she knew that she could find no trapper in the barn. There were no snowshoe tracks in the snow. She told Carl she thought she had the greatest blessing on earth. She had been allowed to entertain an angel on Christmas Eve. And because Carl had shown such unconditional love of Christ through caring for a dying old trapper on Christmas Eve, there was no trapper in the barn. She told Carl she had proof he had been there, for in the cabin underneath the Christmas tree was the pack with peppermint, chocolate, and a little piece of yard goods. She wrapped up the yard goods in white paper and left them to me, a letter telling me never to use the fabric, for it was from heaven. She told this story countless times to our family, and it became part of our Christmas tradition. My great-grandmother died when I was 6 years old on Christmas Day. And now I'll give you a little different one here, which is altogether different, and some of you may remember it. Lowell, and the story he told, talked about this one here. Lowell had a real good story, and it's quite long, but I do have copies of it, and if any of you wanted to have them, the story goes like this. 'Twas the night before Christmas when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. The children were nestled or snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads. And Mama in her kerchief and I and my cat had just settled our brains for a long winter's nap, when out of the roof there rose such a clatter, I sprang from my bed to see what was the matter. Away to the window I flew like a flash, tore open the shutters, and threw up the sash. The moon on the breast of the new falling snow gave the luster of midday to arches below, when what to my wandering eyes should appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer, with the little old driver so lively and quick, I knew in a moment it must be St. Nick. More rapid than eagles, his curses they came, now Dasher, now Dancer, now Prancer and Vixen. Oh, come, on Comet, on Cupid, on Donner and Blissey, to the top of the porch, to the top of the wall. Now dash away all. The dry leaves that before the wild hurricane flew, when they met with the obstacle, mount to the sky. So up to the housetop the couriers they flew, with the sleigh full of toys, and St. Nicholas too. By then, in a twinkling I heard on the roof the prancing and pouring of each little hoof. As I drew my head and was further around, down the chimney St. Nicholas came with a bound. He was dressed all in fur from his head to his foot. A bundle of toys he had flung on his back, and he looked like a peddler just opening his sack. His eyes, how they twinkled, his dimples, how merry. His cheeks were like roses, his nose like a cherry. His droll little mouth was drawn in it like a bow, and the beard on his chin was as white as the snow. The stump of a pipe he held tight in his teeth, and the smoke encircled his head like a wreath. He had a broad face and a little round belly that shook when he laughed like a bowl full of jelly. He was chubby and plump, a right jolly old elf, and I laughed when I saw him in spite of myself. A wink of his eyes and a twist of his head soon gave me to know I had nothing to dread. He spoke not a word, but went straight to his work, and filled all the stockings that turned with a jerk, and gave a nod, and up the chimney he rose. He sprang to his sleigh, to his his team gave a whistle, and away they all flew like the dawn of a thistle. But I heard him explain, ere he drove out of sight, Happy Christmas to all, and to all a good night. And I will add to that one little thought. This will be the last time you guys will see me here, because the time has come for me to quit coming to these meetings. I would like to be kind of left in the loop a little bit so I know what is going on, but you'll be soon having a new area vice president. And so I am going to say sayonara to you all, and I'm going to ask Pat if she would play all the verses of Silent Night, which is my favorite hymn.
For that. Thank you, Sister Jarvis, for playing the piano so beautifully. She is amazing. And thank each one of you for coming and participating tonight and making this such a special and an enjoyable occasion. We're appreciative of all the effort that's gone into putting this together and for each of your participation. And we want you to know that we value and appreciate every single one of you, and we're so thankful that you could be with us, and we're really going to miss Harvey, and we're sad that he is not going to be able to come with and be with us in the future. But Harvey, we want you to know how much that we love you and respect you and honor you for your example and your role that you've played and of leadership in Sons of Utah Pioneers, and you will be missed. And I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas. because it's that time of year, one more time. And it's such a great time. I love to play music. I love to be with my family. I love these types of events and just the festivity that goes along with it. And yeah, we really look forward to this time of the year. So I also want each one of you to know that I personally have a testimony of our Savior, Jesus Christ. And that's what this season is all about, is celebrating his birth and what he has done for us and what that means for us in our lives. And I say this in the name of Jesus Christ, and I would